Hi, everybody. Okay. Hi, everybody. We are going to wait for Miss Kate Walsh to join us. I'm famously not very tech savvy about this, but I'm so glad that you are here, and we're going to talk about private practice. It's the 15th anniversary of, there she is. Oh my gosh, hold on. There she is. Accept. Kate's coming.
Hi, you look really pretty. I don't.
Yeah, but you looked really pretty in that funny thing that we did. I was like, I did not.
Oh yeah, because I had hair and makeup on. Now I'm like, it's morning. I look like a crazy person because my attempt at glamour was I put on these mountain and moon earrings, which is these women that are amazing jewelers here, and my glasses. I was like, well, maybe I'm adjusting my top knot.
I know, but I'm so glad that you admitted that you had hair and makeup done, because I was like, man, I am slacking and she is looking
You looked great. You still looked great. I was like, because you've got the good hair and you're just like, hi, I glow. You have an inner glow.
Tell me about, are those caddis, by the way? I want to get those. I love those glasses.
No, these are a small company called Chopard. I'd say look them up. Keep an eye on them.
They're up and coming. Are those real glasses, or are you just looking pretty and
No, these are real. They're also, what do you call them? Progressives. Mm-hmm.
No shit, old lady.
I know. I'm so old. I've actually, in a week, I'm going to be 55.
That's not old. I'm older than you.
You're slightly older.
I'm slightly older. Okay, can I just say, though, that look at all these sweet people.
I know.
There's 3,000 people watching us be friends. Can I just say I'm just so happy being older. I do feel like I even see young children, and I'm like, I don't wish my children were young. And it's not like I had such a rough time. I just was so nervous. I'm more existentially terrified, but less nervous in my own skin.
Same. I'm like, what is it about? What's my purpose? But then it also terrifies me that I say things like I sound like my mom. I say all the wrong things. Like you know what I mean? I said to my fiance, who is a farmer, I said, well, you've got to make hay while it's raining. He goes, I think you mean make hay when the sun shines. I'm like, that too. It's like, what? It's just like, yeah.
I know.
I burned myself at the stove the other day. I'm like, what's going to happen when I'm really old?
Oh, no. Oh, I know. No,
they're not going to let me in the kitchen. It's going to be like
I think about those beautiful two Filipino women that looked after my mom's body toward the end. And I'm like, they're going to be looking after my body, I'm sure. And God bless them. I'll look after your body, by the way. I would 100% change your diaper. 100%.
I would totally do the same for you.
Like, it wouldn't be a problem. Like, I used to think, oh,
Thank you.
Yeah. I mean that, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, I know someone goes, Beyonce? That's right. I'm engaged. I know. We're making an announcement here on our Instagram.
Oh, I was just wondering.
I really
haven't you and Andrew talked about that openly, or
no? He's like,
congratulations, Mazel Tov.
I know. I'm like, I don't really like to talk about those things, but oh, thanks. I took the hair down. This is my attempt at. There we go.
Really, you're looking so beautiful. By the way,
I miss you. I love you.
Oh, I love you so much. And happy 15th anniversary of the premiere of Private
Practice. I know. Let's talk about why we're here. Of Private Practice.
I mean, what I remember, Dudette, is that year for you was like.
Also, that was I was getting married.
Was that also a spit take? I think you almost did a spit take.
I just announced I'm engaged. You're like, also the first year of Private Practice, I was about to get married for my starter marriage, the Hollywood.
But you had Hollywood. You really what I want to say about it is, having come off of a show where I was #1 and had these little kids, I did not want to be #1 for that moment in time. And I really appreciated you. It was all on your shoulders, man. I just remember all the photo shoots and this and that. And it was,
Oh my God.
cool.
Dude, never again. I don't ever want, it's funny. Like, I don't want to be I don't want to be number one again. I really enjoy being an ensemble member. I enjoy just coming in sideways, being like, hey guys, it's me, Evil Addie, and then backing out, or like, hi, I'm the boss on Emily in Paris, like come in a little bit and leave. But I remember thinking how grateful I was / intimidated, but really grateful that I couldn't believe that you, Tim Daly, Tay Diggs, these people, all of you had your own shows, and that you were going to come and do this. I felt very great. And then we got Audra McDonald, and I was like, what the hell? And then Paul Adelstein, who, I mean, we've known each other since we were like, I think I'm probably older than him, but since I was like 22, we used to wait tables together in Chicago. So it was really exciting. It was like some really good dream.
It was, well, and it's all like we all were there. I mean, it's funny. I was looking over some of these questions. It really became bigger than I even thought it would be. You know, I thought, I mean, because for me also, I was so burned out at the end of Judging Amy and then becoming a mom. And I really thought like, maybe I'll never, I was, you know, I'm so like, I'm always a legend in my own mind. I was like, maybe I won't act again. I'll be Princess Grace and look after my children. And then Bodhi was like a year and a half and I started getting antsy and I was like, shit, I do want to act, but I don't want to do the number one. Like what is, and this group of people that, I mean, it's really true. And it's like, so we are really friends. I mean, that what happened in that kitchen
is very special.
It's very sustaining.
Very unique and very special. Oh, here comes the jungle cat that is my fiance. He's about to walk through. Oh. Hey, babe, I'm just doing an Instagram live with Amy B.
Hey, Andrew, she
hold
just
on.
100% outed your engagement, by the way.
I did. I just outed our engagement.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good to see you. Yeah, are you sporting a mustache there?
Yeah, he's got a mustache.
Oh, you know, I like it. I don't usually like them.
Isn't it good?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I do.
Aw.
Oh,
oh, okay, great. Okay, have fun. Tell him I said hey. Sorry. Real life, guys. Real life. Yeah.
So,
but I have this very distinct image of you, like, you know, you have these little Polaroid burned into your brain of you walking to set, and you've got that Amy Brenneman thoughtful gait, like sort of like you're always pondering something, like a little bit of a monk-like walk with your two little children following behind. Like, it always felt like you were taking them trick-or-treating when they were on set. They're just like these little munchkins. They're like, here they are. And just thinking, oh my gosh, wow. Yeah, she's got these two littles. And now they're bigs. They're so...
Yeah, they're bigs. And I do, maybe, listen, that maybe... I did this podcast the other day, and I talked about some area where I you know, I said, oh, I was like a lovely young woman, or I had some positive, you know, adjective for myself. And the woman paused and she said, it's so rare that you have anybody, but especially actresses, refer to themselves in a positive, supportive way. And I was like, oh, that's so sad. But we were talking about self-esteem, and she said, you know, did you come by? Was it hard work to get there? And I said, you know, I feel like my little secret is I think I'm great, my little girl. Then you go out in the world and people say, oh, you're a piece of shit, or you're too fat, or whatever. But my essential self-esteem is okay. But as a mom, I mean, I did not feel confident as a mom. I really didn't. I felt very intimidated by other people. I felt like and some of it is because I was working so hard with Judging Amy. Some of it is because Shar had special needs. But it's taken me a good 15, 20 years to go, I'm an okay mom, and they're okay. But that took a really, really long time. And, you know, I think some of it is I love their company and bringing them to work. I just felt like so, you know, all of the cliches are true. Just like, can I carve out space for myself? I mean, I was making but it's like so, and all of that feels like behind me, you know, like they're great. I'm about to be an empty nester. I'm like finding creative parts of my psyche that, you know, it's cycle of life, you know? I think that's
Yeah.
where when I look at Katerina, because she's got little ones and
Yeah.
she's doing what I did, you know, with an extra kid, you know, but she's,
Yeah.
and, and, you know, and special needs too. Like, so I really relate to a
And
lot.
same mom, you
And,
know.
right.
Yeah.
Oh,
She's
yeah,
killing
Brad.
it. She's incredible.
27 years.
20, I know. Happy anniversary. Happy anniversary. I know last week Lauren was like, Amy and Brad are celebrating their anniversary. Do you like my Lauren impression? And they're not, so she's not going to be here today. She and Brad are having a romantic evening. They're a mutual friend that you don't know, but we love deeply. So happy anniversary. I know I'll not on here, but I'm going to ask you a lot of questions later.
Yeah. Yeah. I dig I mean, that's another thing. It takes a long time to get used to marriage. It did for me anyway. I mean, it didn't, not with Brad, but like, what is this institution? What's my relationship to it? I mean, it's just like, because we're inheriting all this patriarchal bullshit, you know, it just takes a while to trust the whole thing, you know?
To trust and understand that you really do make it up as you go along, the two of you create it together. Because you're like, wait a minute. Yeah, what happens now? But I do love having a partner. I love partnership, but it's also a challenge to me because a friend of mine in LA just sent me a meme or it's like a little interview of Sophia Loren saying how much she loved to be alone because then she can have time to talk to herself and answer her questions and figure out what she wants and what she likes and doesn't like. And I'm like, I so get that.
Yeah.
I mean, and one of the things I love about being older is I do talk to myself a lot.
Yeah.
And I enjoy it. And talking about that positive self-esteem that you were saying, it's so easy for negative self-talk. And so I consciously say kind things to myself, like positive mantras all the time about my health. I remember hearing J-Lo says she's ageless. I was like, all right, I'll steal that one. I'm ageless. I am healthy. My brain is healthy. My body works perfectly. You know, the whole kit and caboodle, because I think it's kind of critical, you know?
Yeah. Well, and I also think that's part of the patriarchal capitalism too, is like that if, like with the motherhood thing, I remember like feeling, oh, I'm a working mom and I feel bad. And I remember Eleanor Smeal, who is a mentor of mine who started the National Organization for Women. And she was like, you know, they want you to feel, because if you didn't feel that way, you wouldn't buy their products or buy their magazines.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, like capitalism has a vested interest in me not feeling good. You know?
Sorry, someone asked where Pablo was. He's sleeping. He's currently reclining. He likes to just be under the covers. So
that's
there you go. Yeah, I know the competition. You're not good enough. Oh, there's yours. Come off it for that spot.
All right, let's answer some questions.
I know. Okay, did you see some of the ones that were?
I do.
Okay. Julia K. Sanchez asked, do you think the couples would still be together today? That's Julia K. Sanchez. Do you think the couple? So that's the couples on private practice. Do you think that they'd still be together today?
Well, you had just gotten married?
I would hope so. I hope that. I think I am. Yeah, because we're still.
I would 100% be dating a woman, Violet.
Ooh, I like that. Yeah, I buy that.
Think about some of your questions. I think Violet would be like a certified ayahuasca leader. I think she really is interested in alternative. Like, I just think
she would definitely have a witch compound in Massachusetts or upstate New York.
Yeah, I think I think Violet was still a mom. That was the primary relationship in her life, but I don't think she was ever successful in relationships, really.
Yeah, that wasn't her. Yeah, well, neither was Addison, really.
But you had Benjamin Brad at that pretty.
Yeah. We had the wedding. We have Henry, our adopted child. Oh, okay. Gigi _ Metrock asks, what do you both miss about filming on the show?
Funny people. I mean, like laugh. It was a regular, and I don't do this in my life. Like, even as much as I love the other gigs that I'm trying to think. I mean, there's funny people everywhere, but you could count on laughing so hard that you'd fall over. Like those laughs.
I often wet my pants. I would literally. I know. I remember telling
I
people,
also
I
could
just ate a
tell.
little. I just ate a little.
I could tell it was like watching the sun in the sky. If her beautiful pencil skirts, if they were zipped, it was the morning. If they were unzipped, it was after lunch. And then also those
swelling.
goddamn shoes, by the way. Those were crazy. I had to wear them because you wore them, but I'm like, shit, if you hadn't worn them, I wouldn't have worn them.
This is a little secret. When I went to go film the episode that I did last season on season 18 of Grey's, we had these killer Addison 6-inch heels, but I just landed in LA from Australia, and in order to combat in an effort to combat jet lag, I did this crazy hike up Griffith Park, like some crazy, 30-degree angle, just like going for it with my brother and Andrew. And I had I got major gnarly shin splits, and I couldn't walk in the shit. The director had to say to me, oh, cut. He's like, you cannot, you look like a teenage girl trying to wear heels for the first time. Like, you look like just a tired old whore. Please take them off, and we will shoot from your knees up. I was like, it was very, yeah, they're not.
Oh
yeah.
I gave him away.
Yeah.
All right. How did our friendship start? Our friendship, our acquaintance predated private practice.
Yes.
Although we didn't know each other well, but we knew each other through other people. And I would always say, like, who is that hot blonde? Because you were very blonde when I first met.
Oh my God, that's right. I was blonde.
You were blonde.
I was blonde. I dyed my hair red for Mind of the Married Man on HBO, because Sonia Walger, also my very dear friend, got the lead. We were both testing, and she got the lead, and she was blonde. They're like, we want you on the show to recur, but you can't be. So I was like, all right, I'll go red.
Oh.
Yeah, little.
Well, but you've never been as blonde as like when I knew you way back when.
No, that was like, as Sergio Lopez Rivera might say, chicken fat yellow blonde. Oh my God.
He's so sensitive. By the way, I worked out with Gabby McLean, who trained Viola Davis in Lion King.
Wow.
The Woman King.
Welcome to old age. She was in the Lion King trainer. She trained the Woman King.
So Sergio is traveling with Viola right now, and so I worked out with Steven and Brad, Sergio's husband, and couldn't walk for a week. I don't know, and I don't know if I'm like, if it's like sore in a good way or sore like I'm gonna die. Yeah, it's like my back was sort of jacked up, and I'll figure it out. But yeah, but that
I started putting in circuit training in case you're interested. World.
Yeah, that's what she does basically. Do we have that now?
Bedhead? No, I'm not.
Okay.
Although I'm just going to say this. Let's talk about hair for a second. That my Italian grandmother, Sicilian, Concetta Bocchetto, she's gone now, of course, but she had naturally red hair, chestnut. And my brother's a ginger, Joe Walsh. Well, now he's a silver ginger. He is,
yeah, but he has that ginger quality.
Freckled ginger. We got the medium mouse color. I like to say, like ashy.
Her eyes look so pretty right now.
Thanks, bud.
They do. All right. What's coming up next for the two of you?
Oh, you go, Amy. You go.
I'm gonna do season 2 of Old Man, and I think in January. So I have a senior in high school, so I'm supporting the college app situation. Also, what's really cool is, so Charlotte, my daughter gets out of her program this year too, and I seem to have bought a small apartment building in Massachusetts.
Oh yeah,
with other things. So we're creating a supported, yeah.
Because I think I just am excited about that for you.
Yeah, it's really interesting, and because you do get into all sorts of stuff the disability stuff and supported living is interesting, but also I'm interested in congregate living. I think we all live too separately anyway. So whether aging people or people that need a little help or people that
also talk about congregate living is like communal living for those of you who are like, what? I don't mean at all the condescension, but I always, I had a fantasy. I was saying this like 20 years ago because I didn't have children. I kind of knew it was going to happen for me. I was like, listen, with friends, I was like, there's only like, at that time, this friend group, there's like one kid amongst all of us. I was like, we can't put it all on Mary Charles. We have to like, we need to think about a retirement and a commune. Like, why don't we live with people we love and know? And I also think, like, you talked about that with your mother too, when she was aging and when you moved her out of her house, that you had her in a very integrated care facility.
Yeah.
Young people, older, right? Was that correct?
No, but I like that you're remembering it that way. She went.
Oh, I had it.
But it's
well, it's because my mom lives in a community, a mobile home with younger people.
I mean, seeing my mom, that's what with a disability. By the way, does anybody have I always like to throw, look, there's 1,600 of us. Anybody with a disability? Anyway, hello, disability people. It's yes. Also people can support each other in different ways. And so anyway, oh my God, well, here, you'll love this story. So I traveled a bit this summer. We went to Africa, which was great. And I had this big, expansive, you're looking at a big landscape, you're having big thoughts, you're not at home, all that great stuff that traveling does. Also, first time since COVID. And I was writing, and I do like to write, and I never carve out enough time. So I'm like, I'm going to write, like that ego, right? So my soul is going like, oh, writing is really nice. My ego is like, I'm going to write 2 hours every day. Literally, when my ego says that, my soul is like, oh, fuck you. I'm just like, you just made it totally not fun.
That's so funny. So
and then I honestly was like, am I not writing because I'm abandoning my own desires, or am I not writing because it's just not at the right time? I mean, I have 2 kids in transition, and that's what's going on.
That's I think that's an interesting thing to talk about when that ego takes not just the ego taking over, but the soul wants joy. And then we're like, let's make it a job, and let's make it like this, like self-flagellatory exercise, like 2 hours a day. But I do that. It's like, okay, or I used to. Now I'm a little more, I've been beaten to submission. Like just submit and go, okay, if I get, for me, it's just that, yeah, but I was just talking to Sonia about like being more playful. Like she's like, oh my God, I just, like I want to play and be in joy. And I'm like, yeah. Like, I remember talking about, a friend of mine gave me she wrote down 20 things a day, like 20 things that give you joy and pleasure, and try to do 5 a day. It can be as innocuous as, hanging out with your cat, or just sitting under a tree, reading poetry, whatever. Try to do 5 a day. And I was like, no way. But I could. And when I realized from it is what my attachment to earning joy or fun. Yeah. Like, oh, I can't do that until all my problems are solved, or I can't do that until, and then it's so good just to start doing it. All right.
This interesting world, which we are participating in at this particular moment, of sort of commodifying your personality, right? So it's just this interesting thing where it's like, can you do it, and almost as a rule, just say, I'm not going to capitalize on this, right? This is going to be my thing, because it can be a challenge. Like, we're all kind of, I am. I mean, you take that ego piece, but then you also take the way the world is right now. And before you know it, you're like, how can I use this? It's like,
yeah. I know. Brand it. Someone said, talk about KD. Love KD. I know. I feel like we were talking about the originals, like Tim and Tay and Andre and Yumi. KD came in a little later, and as did Kat, and just like delightful. Like, Brian Bedman, we're missing. I mean, talk about funny.
Chris Lowell.
Yeah. Chris. Okay, let's just talk about Chris Lowell for a second. I remember just going, that kid is living his best life constantly, and he was living the life like, I want to go back and be 22 or 21. He was like 21, I think, even. And just like live his life. Remember, every time he had time off, he'd be taking a mad trip around somewhere, and he'd be flying his friends with him.
Well, he's also, like, I remember, I feel like it was in the pilot of or maybe the pilot was part of Grey's, but then the first Private Practice episode. Do you remember when they were kind of leaning into him being like a dopey surfer blonde guy that was in love with Audra?
Yeah.
And they were really objectifying him. Like Shonda, I think she'd say this if she were here now. And I remember Chris going like, I don't feel good about, like really articulating, like, I feel like I'm being objectified. And he wasn't sort of like offended, but I was like, oh, right. That's whether it's a male or a female. It doesn't feel good to be eye candy, right? It actually doesn't feel good, even though it's sort of like, you know, your ego gets stroked a little bit, but, you know,
I think that's correct. It may feel good for a second, and then you're like, wait a minute, there's more here, more to the equation. And I do think I think it's also interesting though that, you know, women have been experiencing that for, that's not fair, because even in the 50s, like men that were hunky, like that was, you know, like sexualizing and just objectifying both. But really, I would say women experienced it more.
Yeah, and I also think it's kind of like, it's just a different time and a good, you know, the Masa Amini stuff is like, not to just get super serious, but I do like, it helps to see like it's this worldwide journey, you know, toward equity. And, you know, I listened to this Iranian woman who's probably closer to our age, who said, you know, as much as it's depressing that these fights are cyclical, this time, like literally right now in Iran, young men are with young women protesting, and that was happening 15, 20 years ago, right? So it's like we're crossing those categories, and, you know, white people showing up for George Floyd, and like it's not, you know, men showing up in this country for reproductive justice. And so it's hard and exciting too. It's, you know, we all come together.
It's awful and awesome all at once. But I also think that bringing it back to what Shonda created and what she did on both shows, and a lot of people have said to me, like what she did for the culture and storytelling, and actually big political and social issues, and that she could put it in the framework of a hospital or a private practice, is profound. And it's one of the reasons why I went back to do season 19. We've got amazing storylines, but a lot of it, I'm not giving anything away, but it's around women's health, and it's powerful. And I felt like, oh, I can make a bigger contribution to the culture as Addison and in Shondaland, or, you know, with, you know, Christopher Murnoff and Meg and the writers and all the incredible writers on, you know, Grey's, but than I can as an individual. And but I feel like it's something that she did. And when she made Private Practice, I remember when she first pitched it to me, she said, I'm, you know, she had the experience of being like, you know, the intern of Grey's. That was her, you know, development phase. And then she's like, now I feel more mature and I want to write about, okay, what happens when your dreams do come true and you get there, then, and what does that look like? And a lot of people have come to me and said, oh, I love Grey's, but I love Private Practice because it felt just a little more mature and a little more like issues that, you know, I'm dealing with or whatever, like professionally, etc. So I really loved that as much as, you know, I love the conversations. I loved our,
yeah, and I agree. I mean, Shonda's like a mad genius, you know, and both her, who she is as a human, you know, and, you know, and it's a Trojan horse.
Well, to watch her evolution for me, I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
You know,
and what it is to be, you know, to be a strong container, you know, to sort of like be a, I mean, I was thinking actually when you said you don't really want to be a number one right now, I was I had this awesome moment with Lizzie Moss, who I worked with on this show, Shining Girls, and she has this producing partner. They're both like 40, like 39, right? And neither one's married, no kids, and they're really into building this company. They're doing an incredible job. And they were really deferential to me, and I was talking about Judging Amy and blah, blah, blah. And I was in the van going back to the hotel, and I was like, they're so inspiring. And it wasn't like a beating myself up, but I was like, that would have been like, why didn't I start a production company like after Judging Amy? Like that would have been a natural thing. And then I was like, what was it? Oh yeah, I had 2 kids, right? Yeah, I wasn't into it. Like I literally had to, like,
that was,
you know. But I also, you know, love producing and I love not producing. I mean that partly because I'm a little bit falling in love with acting again recently, the last like 5 years or so. It's, working with somebody like Jeff Bridges really helps too. But it's like, oh, this is, rather than thinking of acting as a stepping stone toward a production company or toward this or that, I'm like suddenly really honoring the thing of it a little bit more, which is pretty interesting.
That's good.
All right, beautiful. It's 6:32. How long do these things go?
I know we gotta let me just go back a little bit to not wanting to be number one. This is kind of a funny story. When you're like, I don't want to be number one. But when we were about to start Private Practice, the pilot, did I ever tell you that Shonda was like, hey, look, I was just thinking, just to mix it up and all the stuff that can happen with numbers and a call sheet. So I was just thinking that we do it for Private Practice. Like, let's just blow up that infrastructure. Let's make it alphabetical. What are your thoughts on that? And I was like, I'm W.
Yeah, it's like, I'm number one.
I was like, no, I need to be number one. And like, sorry, this is actually, I've never been number one.
Exactly. And also you had the lion's share of work.
Number one. Who's number one?
Oh yeah. You have to. You have, and also I remember
Edelstein, Brenneman, Daly, Diggs, McDonald, Walsh. It's like,
I'm not going to come out well.
Like, I need to be number one just for a little bit, and then I'll never have to do it again.
Oh, I love that story. Yeah, I'm a W. Oh,
I'm a W. It's like, I'll be last.
But I love that she brought that up. I love that you felt empowered to say, and I also think that it was not a true ensemble. You had so much work on your shoulders, you get to be number one. You know what I mean? It was not an equal amount of work.
Oh my! Hey guys, it's me, Walsh. It was like, okay, all right, we should probably wrap this up because we'll talk forever. But I love you so much, I don't want to stop. Let's see. Should we ask? Are there any other questions? I wish I spoke Spanish.
Yeah. What about
coffee? Someone's like, yeah, that's a giant mug full of coffee. Well, coffee and
said unless they went alphabetically by the first name of the characters.
Oh yeah, that would be okay. All right.
I have a question for you, and then I'll also respond to this question. Like, how challenging time, climate change. Like, how do you keep your spirits up? Like, what are your tricks?
That's a great question. I do meditate. I've gotten back into meditation. I try to do, it's sort of a macro problem or challenge I have, which is how do I stay present? And also being actually in Australia, the other side of the planet, in a different hemisphere, but also stay connected to you, my family, friends, work, Northern Hemisphere, the world globally, what's happening. So I think that ties into like being aware of everything, climate change, women's health, fucking crazy abortion stuff, that's the bans that are happening in America, Iran, the hurricane, Ukraine, everything that's happening in the world, and being aware but not letting it take me away. And I just try to do what's right in front of me, right? And then I try to go, and then here's an offering, here's awareness. And if I can use my platform to make, I can't solve the problems, you can't individually, but I do feel collectively. And I also am heartened by what you said, that I feel like to be able to hold the container of the awful and the awesome, like that things are progressing, to see all these incredible men and women showing up to an oppressive regime. And of course, there's regimes all over the world that we don't even know about, what's happening in North Korea, what's happening in all these places that people are being oppressed. But I think that wherever there's oppression, there's going to be freedom and love going. That's where we're at. Not to sound too hippy dippy, but But anyway, that's a total digression. I try to keep present by doing what's right in front of me, and often it's just the dishes or cleaning out the litter box.
Mm-hmm.
and you know, doing fun stuff and just going, I want to have joy, I want to be committed, because I can go down, you and I think are both sensitive, we're empaths, like we can go down that dark hole of like hopelessness, and you know. How about you? What do you do?
Love that. Yeah, I've gotten, I feel like for me in June with Roe was like the bottom for me. And I was, you know, short with my husband, and like I was like, holy, I gotta figure this out because it's a long life and a long struggle. You know, it's not like, oh, things are gonna, I used to feel more childish about like, there's an election, it went our way, I don't have to think about it for 4 years, you know. So it's like a little bit of an elder. I also think like there's so much upset that people public, like I don't need to public that upset. My friend Annie Potts, she's a Sufi, and Sufis say, before they utter something, is it true, is it kind, is it necessary?
Yeah.
If something has already been retweeted, like I don't know if it's necessary, you know.
Yes, that's
But
true.
I've also been going deeper and you know, listening to a lot of Ram Dass and listening to sort of some big visions, and then the Tonglen meditation of like, you know, if I'm having a good day and there's a suffering child in Ukraine, it's like I breathe out and I think about, it's like, may you have a good day, like somehow connecting, then I get to experience some joy and send it their way. Yeah, and then also I saw this thing. I think I did repost it because it was so shocking to me. But there were all of these beautiful, peaceful marches for the Iranian women and men, but women, and nobody covered it. CNN and
That made me enraged. It did
and
make me enraged. And
like I don't want to get my. You want me to stay upset, all you guys, even if it's like a view that's mine. It's still the algorithm that's going to hook me, that's going to sell me shit. And it's like, I'm really don't, I'm looking at all of that. Like, oh, you want me to be upset. You don't.
well, that I was going to say that one of the things that I've realized is my like understanding my own limitations, which is I'm going to react. If I'm seeing inflammatory things, I'm going to have a reaction. I'm going to feel terrible, which then affects my endocrine system. It affects everything, all my hormones, all my chemicals, and I'm going to feel badly. And then I have to recover from that. So I, you know, even as far back as like 2016, I just stopped. I really limited the intake of news and media, not to bury my head in the sand, but just like, and I realized in so doing, I think I've talked to you about this before, how lonely it is, because a lot of people like to connect through bitching and complaining and negative and even just shining a light. They're not, it's not wrong. But
Yeah.
for me, I'm like, I don't want to put my energy there, and it's my limitation. I'll get too affected and miserable and sick from it. So I was like, all right, that's going to, I'm gonna knock that off a bit. And then also I remember my Italian grandma Concetta, bless you, wherever she is now. But I remember I spent a lot of time with my Italian grandparents growing up because my parents were divorced, and they would sit in front of the television. This is in the early 70s, and watch the 6 o'clock news. And my grandma would just be like, oh, oh God, this is off. It's terrible. It was always the terrible news of the world being reported. And
Yeah.
you're like, and not to dismiss, because I love journalists, and I, you know, have written and was, you know, had very big interest in journalism as a young person. And but the media, it's a business, and like the business of selling and horribleness and inflammatory things that we have no control over is, you know, so it's a
Well,
slippery slope.
the same business that we're in, right? So it's like an episode of Private Practice. We used to have this running joke of don't ever have a baby with these people, because most births are actually really peaceful, but like something terrible, you know. But you need drama, right? So I think that even detaching or being aware of that archetype, you know, of like, oh, I'm supposed to get upset and then X, Y, and Z. I also think, listen, I started reading Isabel Wilkerson, those big, nice, chunky books, and there's a way for me to learn about what's going on and learn about history, but in a slower, more contemplative way too. But yeah, and it's like that Fred Rogers thing. I mean, I got involved with my swing left local chapter, and I'm crazy mad in love with the head of Indivisible Northridge. I mean, there's wonderful people doing.
Posting, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right.
Someone asked here in Australia, what's happening? What do you feel like? Just last night at dinner, what's the collective, like, what is the vibe of what's happening in America. Like, how are people, do you think it's better or worse or more divided, more connected? And I said, actually, I think the grassroots, individually, people are gathering in small ways and doing such incredible work. And like you said, I think we all used to be like, oh, the election happened. Yay, it went our way. Bye. And now there's a level of consciousness and responsibility and ethos that's, and they have that here in Australia, which is incredible in terms of conservation, in terms of civil rights, in terms of just there's a massive progressive movement here and green movement. That's really inspiring to me. But at any rate, I think that that's what's great about any contrast or any oppression, is that it is an opportunity for love and expansion, and in all of us individually and then in the collective.
For sure. And then I think we are a world, we are one world. And so as much as, I don't wish like the Italians to have a new fascist president, but I also think like it's not just America, and if some place is more humane and more like forward thinking, we get to borrow that and then we'll be that person. And I remember I might have said this to you over the years, but like, I remember feeling sort of grouchy when people go like, I can't with, the Trump presidency or just whatever, it's like, I can't believe it's happening in America. And I was like, you know what? We're humans too. America gets to struggle too. And in fact, on the more beautiful side of things, we are unearthing structural, it's like Black and brown activists are like, hello, welcome, like we are unearthing something that is painful. And, it's tough stuff, it's easier to be in the sort of brand and like, go, go, go. So it's profound work. That Caterina Scorsone, our little wise Caterina.
Caterina, a good witch from, she is magic. A magical
machine, man. She
so
said
wise.
A great thing on my podcast where she said, like an individual, when they have something that no longer works, they go into therapy, they're quote unquote falling apart, right? But what's really happening is their ego structure is getting reformed in a healthier way, right? But for a while, it's like, who am I? I'm falling apart. And that's kind of what's going on collectively, not just in America, but it's like we're it's like finding out your dad was an alcoholic and you never knew. It's like, oh my God, but it's like we have to incorporate these difficult truths and process them. And there's people that, just like families, who do not want to hear it. We're not going to teach that history. But then it's like, it doesn't matter if you don't want to teach it. It happened. And until we process it, it's going to be, look at all people. I feel like we just get really deep and it's like, what were the clothes like on the show?
But one of the things that Shonda, what I loved is, and she does it in Grey's and Private Practice with her character, she always has somebody do a dance. She's like, okay, dance moment. And I have to say, I have incorporated like in my life, just turning, and another girlfriend of mine who's like a single mom here, and she's like, her little boy is Cassius is 7 now, and she's like, all right, mama's gonna put her earbuds on and dance now. You can watch TV. And also like and even with Andrew, I'm like, we gotta dance. And we just like crank it up, shake it out, move all the hormones around and get out of your head and into your body. You do that. You're a dancer. You have a dance background. It's so critical to get into the body and joy. And I always go back to as well, like where two or more gather, there's strength and healing and love. And I think also one of the things I do love about Private Practice, what she did, and like we were a lot of talking heads, a lot of walk and talks, a lot of kitchen scenes, a lot of debating, but that Shonda did really examine, and the writers, all the beautiful writers on that show, Steve Blackman and Craig and everybody that took a turn running that room, of just debating and looking at things from all sides. Remember Audra's character Naomi was like very Catholic and very and I remember she and Addison going head to head over abortion. And it's important. It's important to talk about it and keep looking at it.
Humanity of differing views and what we share. Yeah. Look, where 2 or more gathered, we have 1,125 gathered.
Oh, well, thanks. We should probably
all these amazing people. Like, thank you for letting me know. I mean, isn't it incredible? Like, and also the wonder of Netflix, and it's like that
No.
we would not, yeah, just say thank you for loving private practice because we do
Yeah,
too.
thank you. I know because Grayson said to one of our guys in our social team was like, "Hey, it's the 50th." I'm like, "Uh-huh." He's like, "No, it's a big deal." I'm like, "Really?" He's like, "Yeah, people want to talk about it." I'm like, "Okay, all right, well, cool." I'm like super stoked. So we're super grateful. I think that is the magic too of this world is that people that weren't even born when the show was shooting are watching it. You know what I mean? It's super
Yeah.
cool. My hair's caught my glasses. Okay, so is it the time to say goodbye?
Not bad.
This pretty girl.
So much.
I love you.
I know.
Yeah, thank you. How do we save this? The people are like, save this. I think Grayson probably wants to save it too, or the people.
Um,
Like,
I I do it because it originated.
it?
Yeah.
Okay.
All
You
right.
know how to do that? You have the technology? All right.
All right.
I love you. All
Stay safe. Keep the
right,
faith.
you too.
All
Am
right.
I going to see you tomorrow?
Yeah.
Okay. Party. Okay. Bye.